is, once again, it's our Wednesday night. It's our Product Experience and Training Call. I'm Keith Hooper. I'm here in Central California where it's not under the Arctic freeze. We're joined this evening by our good friend, Dr. Barry White out of Ontario, Canada. Good evening, Dr. White.
Good evening, Keith.
And we're joined as well by our good friend, Doug LeClaire out of also the frozen parts of Canada. Good evening, Doug.
Hello, Keith.
And we're glad to have all of you here as well. So, you know, these Wednesday night calls, we're talking about Immunocal, what it does, why it's different, the things that are here and able to share with people. So, you know, the format of these calls is, look, the science from Immunotech confers certain expectations. You use Immunocal, these are the results that you can get. And, you know, Dr. White, as we talk about overall good health, okay, I think that's what's most important because we all live our lives. We all have those instances that occurred, you know, when we were younger where we tripped and fell and maybe hit our head and didn't even pay any attention to it. Or maybe we've done something else, broke a bone or something like that and starting to develop some arthritis, or we're developing some other, you know, issue that is impeding us from having the best quality of life that we'd like to have. And that's what Immunocal really comes in with all the components about it, about, you know, literally normalizing our immune response to a lot of these things and providing the building blocks where the body can repair itself. Is that correct, Dr. White?
Yeah, that's the building blocks. Building blocks that are maybe used to be available in our food, and it's not there in our food anymore. So even when we say that 10 pounds of broccoli might equal 1 package of Immunocal, maybe even that's optimistic because even the broccoli has deteriorated in terms of what value it has. So, yeah, food value being what it is, it's important.
So if we look at that and we think about nutrition, Doug, of being such a big part of overall good health, and I know where you're coming from and your background and what you've been investigating over all these years with Immunotech, that overall good health is what we're all concerned about, right?
Oh, absolutely, Keith. And, you know, it's unfortunate that over the course of the years, as we go on further and further, that the nutritional value in our food is diminishing, unless you actually start to grow it yourself. And it's I tell you, what we invested in just a few garden beds, it's probably about $3,000 with compost and cedar boxes and hoops, and we got we say we've got the, you know, the $3,000 tomato. So
right.
I think we can do a lot better. You know, with Immunotech and Immunotech's products, and especially with Immunocal, we've got a fundamental, highly nutritious, super nutrient dense food that is unparalleled in what can be offered in today's world. So I'm really excited about it.
So when we look at the science, Doug, and we look at the science of Immunocal, you know, once again, having you've been here over 20 some odd years. I've been here over 20 years. Dr. White's been here over 20 years. What we've seen is that when you take Immunocal provides a lot more than just glutathione. It provides that great quality protein that allows the epigenetics to work. That we were talking about on that epigenetic level. So there's more to this than just that, Doug. There's more to it than just raising glutathione, because there's a lot more in the science about it, you know, than just raising glutathione levels, right?
Oh yeah, huge benefits. And I remember attending a workshop by Dr. Alan Summersall. It was probably about 20 years, maybe 19 years ago. And he just took one of the studies and did an entire workshop and presentation about it, and talking about the cellular health and the importance of maintaining that to keep our cells functioning at their optimum by a continuous, not only raising glutathione levels, but the benefits of that, of continuously detoxifying a lot of the environmental poisons that we get exposed to. You know, if you think about today's world, Keith, are things, is the air cleaner? Is the food better? Is you know, they're focusing on all the wrong things. They're focusing on one thing, which is a nutrient for food, which is carbon, which is ridiculous. We've got to look at the environmental impact that a lot of these corporations are feeding us, which are thousands, tens of thousands of chemicals. And so, I mean, the important thing of the study was that Dr. Alan Summersall talked about was glutathione is foremost in the cellular protective mechanisms. So we've got, I feel, the best solution to help people, navigate this treacherous world of toxins and poor quality food.
So when we look at overall good health, because that's what we're all looking for, but sometimes we talk to people about Immunocal, and they're thinking it's only for sick people. They think it's only for people that have other issues going on. And, that's why on these Wednesday night calls, we like to talk about the science. And why is the science so important? The science is important because what it does is it validates that if you use Immunocal, these are the results that you should get. And then we're able to bring on real-life individuals like our friend Sue Young tonight, who can talk about that, yes, this is what the science says, but this is what my results were. And guess what? They line up with the science. Isn't that right, Sue?
Yes, they do.
So Sue Young, you're back there in Baltimore where it's not so balmy warm, but your friend talked to you about Immunocal, and it took a while for you to decide to do that, decide to join the Immunotech family, the Immunotech adventure, Immunocal adventure, right?
Yes, it took a while, and it also, I had nothing major going on that I really needed it for, so I didn't take it, and I learned a valuable lesson.
So why don't you share your story of how all this came about, if you would?
Okay, I am a medical courier, and the company that I work for, that means we transport blood for Red Cross, and we transport specimens to labs. So in 2020, when we had the lovely COVID pandemic, things changed with my job. I now became a transporter for massive amounts of COVID specimens. And businesses and colleges and doctors' offices were sending lots and lots of specimens to be tested. So every day I had my car filled with COVID specimens, and I was being exposed to COVID all the time. So my friend Randy told me that I should be taking Immunocal to keep my immune system strong. And I thought maybe that might be a good idea because what happened when COVID was when we had to deliver the blood to the hospitals, they decided to close the front doors, not allow visitors, and all deliveries had to go through the emergency rooms. So the emergency rooms were full of COVID people, COVID sick people. And then with the COVID specimens in my car, I was working long hours. I was getting exhausted, stressed, very run down, which was a recipe for me to get sick. So when Randy introduced me to Immunocal, I decided it would probably be a good idea, so I ordered some and I began taking it. Within a few days, I noticed my energy started increasing, and I also started sleeping better at night, so that pretty much got rid of the exhaustion. But it wasn't a huge impact. What I noticed as time went on and I started I kept taking the Immunocal, I started noticing that I would always, all my life, I would get some kind of an illness or something. It would be mostly stomach, but I would get acid reflux, I would get colds, I would get sinus infections. The first thing I noticed was the acid reflux disappeared. Then I noticed that I wasn't getting stomach viruses anymore. Then the allergies disappeared. And every fall, I would always get a sinus infection and have to take a prescription. I don't get the sinus infections anymore. So that really kept me on the path of staying on Immunocal. But then I noticed what I started noticing was the pain and the inflammation in my body started to go down. I've always had problems with my joints. In my early 20s, I started having a real problem with my shoulders. My shoulders would dislocate, and as time went on, it became very easy for them to be dislocating. All I had to do was point at something, and I could pop my shoulder out. And it is the most painful, excruciating pain that I've ever been through. And I've had broken bones, and this hurts worse than broken bones. Most of the time, I would need somebody to pop my shoulder back in by pulling on my arm, and then it would leave my muscles sore and weak for days. It was affecting my job. I would have to be careful how I moved so that I wouldn't pop a shoulder out. And I was told the only way to fix it would be to have surgery, which has long recovery times. And people were telling me how they had the surgery and it wasn't lasting. One of them had to go right back because he tore it again and had to have another surgery. And that wasn't a road I wanted to take. But when the Immunocal, I started noticing that my shoulders weren't popping out anymore. And it's now been 3.5 years since I've had my shoulders pop out. That was huge to me. What I found out was that Randy tried to tell me about Immunocal in 2015, 5 years before that, but I wasn't open-minded to it. I thought I was healthy and didn't need it. And I found out that I was actually very wrong. I guess my immune system was more broke down than I thought it was, and I actually caused myself to suffer 5 more years of sickness, allergies, and pain because I didn't listen to him. So do you think I'm grateful that Randy shared the gift of Immunocal with me?
I would certainly think so, Sue. So what would you tell everybody? What would you tell everybody tonight? What do they need to do?
I would say even if you think that you're healthy, you need to get on Immunocal because you're going to find out you're not as healthy as you thought you were.
Well, Sue, thank you for sharing with that. You know, Dr. Gutman has a phrase that if people have issues because they're dying often of apparent good health because they don't think there's anything wrong with them. And that's kind of what we're talking about here, right, Doug? That overall good health. Absolutely.
I mean, I am completely grateful and blessed. You know, it feels like I have double the energy I do now than I did when I was in my 30s. And I just unlimited, and people commented all the time. Helping a friend move, and I'm working, 12, 14 hours and just running in and out, grabbing stuff. He says, oh my goodness, do you ever slow down? I said, just for an Immunocal.
Absolutely. Well, Dr. White, so if we take Sue's story and we say, apparent good health, but, it's like everybody. When everybody starts to get into their 40s and 50s, they're going to start, they grow accustomed to things. And they just think, well, that's the way it is, right? And whatever. And then they start to take Immunocal, and they have some of these things that start to the healing takes place, right, Dr. White, which is what we talk about. The science says if you raise your glutathione levels, you provide the great quality protein, you got the long chain amino acids, healing starts to occur, right?
That's right. And doctors are prone to saying, oh, that's just because you're getting older. And so we put up with things we shouldn't be putting up with at all. The apparent good health thing. In actual fact, we have to be very careful about maintaining a guaranteed good health. And that the only guarantee we have is the food we put in our body and I guess the exercise part that we do as well. But nonetheless, we can't just to put up with aches and pains that are totally unnecessary to do. It would be so much wiser just to take your Immunocal. That would put yourself at, yes, you've got some brains you're working on too.
So if we're taking Sue's experiences and we're thinking about it, allergies, we know that because we heard that from Randy from 2 weeks ago. When we look at muscle performance, so if we look at we taking Immunocal and it helps build the muscles, well, what holds the joints in place? Okay, is muscle. And so once again, there's a lot of things here. So this is why it's important for people to experience our product. That's why we share with them, try it. Okay, I love Sandra and I love to tell people, look, take 2 packages of Immunocal, take it for 30 days and prove us wrong. Okay, prove us wrong. Prove us that you're not feeling better. You get the call. You get to make the decision, but get on it and try it. So, Sue, thank you for sharing with us tonight your story. Thank you for, Randy, for introducing Sue and bringing her to part of the Immunotech family. And, we're real grateful to be able to share these things with all of you. Sandra and I are so grateful to be able to do that, along with Dr. White and his darling bride Fern and our good friend Doug LeClaire. So once again, the products from Immunotech Research do not cure anything, but as Hippocrates said some 2,500 years ago, let food be thy medicine. The most important food you can take is Immunocal Platinum, as well as our other great products. So Dr. White, before I open up the call, and Doug, before I do that, anything else you want to add to the call tonight before we start to take questions from the folks?
Yeah, just to comment on the muscle performance part, which is and how important it is to have that integrity for all your joints. It's incredible what it's done for me. I run often, and I have absolutely no problem in any joints, knees, feet, anything like that. They just keep getting stronger and building endurance in that. And if I know for sure, if I didn't have the Immunocal, I'd be in a whole different physical state, because I have a lot of friends that decided not to take it and they can't run anymore. They are just a mess. And so the muscle performance and the strength aspect of this product is really critically important, I believe.
Okay. Dr. White?
Well, I know this isn't Thanksgiving, but with a package of Immunocal in my hand, it's 365 days, 24/7, that I'm thankful that Wally Krillick gave me the call that said, do you want to know what the latest research is at McGill? And he sent the material, and I looked at that package and said, if my wife had said no, we wouldn't know about the miracle. So I'm so grateful that someone told me in time.
Not just like Sandra and I, we're so grateful to our friend Cynthia that shared it, because the benefits that we got, the benefits that Sandra's allergies cleared up and all the other things that we've dealt with. So just absolutely a miracle. All right, so we're going to go ahead and open the calls up here. And so if you're someplace where there's noise, I'd ask that you mute yourselves now, and then we will go ahead and who might have thoughts, comments.